would help if it were displayed better, sort of eons. Although there's there's a divide in player bases between like the players who stream Legend Iron Man and want to watch someone streaming Legend Iron Man, and many other players who don't want their game to look complicated and are happy to just play and see what happens a little bit more. So,
Moving.
How much you really want to show of what's going on with Grays
Solid copy.
depends a bit on that.
Location confirmed.
I would prefer to have,
Good to go.
when you fire a shot, it to just display exactly
Roger that.
what the chance of the different things happening was. Actually, I would prefer it to show a display of how much damage it was going to do, because that's what actually matters. So when I saw a shot, I think most people intuitively think, oh, Grays is complicated and we're used to this sort of thing, and so they would think like, I wish I could bring up the shot interface, but they would think like a bar, and it has like so much hit, it has so much Grays, so much hit, so much crit, so much miss, or something like that, and you can easily digest how likely each of them is. But what I would really like is a bar which shows how often I miss and then how much damage I can do, like 1 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage, how likely each of those are. Why does that rebel have a laser stun gun? Because rebels can get lasers if you get good enough to get to the mid game. How's 520 Ice and Faust? Enjoying the sunset?
Heading out.
Ice and Faust don't text and drive, or like Twitch
Moving to
chat,
designated
comment
position.
and drive.
Understood. Moving out.
It's a bad idea.
Affirmative. Moving out. Got it covered.
Roger. Got my eyes on affirmative.
Graze is also what happens when dodge turns a hit into a miss. I think that if you just display how much damage the shot can do, I'm not sure what's left to like argue about. Like, that's just the game that you're playing. I guess I don't understand. Like, I just don't... Okay, so I balance tested this game, so I do have the ability to approach a game and say like,
No need to ask twice.
this is unfair, this isn't
Position
balanced, this needs to be nerfed, this is too strong, etc. And I've done that a lot.
confirmed. Heading there now.
But then we released the game, and so now this is what the game is, and so I'm going to play it. And that's how my brain works. So I don't really get the people who like play the game and they're like
Scanning.
Moving to Overwatch.
they're like trying to be balance testers for the game when it's time to play it, because that's the wrong time to do it. Like, it's been released already. I guess it's possible that like input could make some things change in future patches, but you're not going to get the Graze mechanic removed from the game. You can go in here and go to Long War 2 and put this at 0 and it will be gone away. That's how much work it requires from you to make it like that, if that's what you think. But like,
Moving.
obviously the game designers decided this was the game they were going to play, so I just don't understand why there's a conversation about it.
Got it.
On my way. I'm on it. Eyes on the prize.
Overwatch.
Roger. I've got my eyes
Affirmative
on.
covering now.
Gray's hiding information from the player. Well, some information should be hidden from the player, but also it would be cool to get a UI patch that displayed Grays
Moving to
a
designated
little bit
position.
more intuitively. I certainly won't argue against that.
location.
I would like for something like that.
Scanning.
Some of gameplay is having information that's hidden from you and finding out what it is, though.
We're visible
Really?
here.
Wow. So thing number one, that was a pretty impressive, like, visual range. Thing number two, holy shit, that was a dumb idea, Advent. Like, right. I thought that was a lot worse for me until it happened.
On your order.
Let's make a highlight out of that one. This game is great. How much damage did the Rebel with the laser stun gun do? That seemed like very silly. Didn't 2 people deal 8?
Finally.
Like, I only have 1.
Whatever you say.
That can't be true.
Sure
It
thing.
must not be true.
I'm going. Overwatch.
Overwatch.
On Overwatch.
On Overwatch.
Scanning.
Overwatch.
But to be fair, you gotta quit with the talk of removing special attack from range, which you were doing just a moment ago. That's fair.
I've got eyes on an advent position.
No, that's fair. I have so far issued 0 active commands to my soldiers in this mission, and 4 things are dead.
Negative damage.
Okay, we've got to pick up a lot of loot this turn. Let's make sure Mr. Faceless is dead. What's up with all these Faceless, by the way? Like, I don't know if this is spoilers or I shouldn't tell you, but it's a 1 in 6 chance when rebels enter. Oh my god, he's dead.
Only the best.
These rebels are just absurd. Anyway, it's a 1 in 6 chance when you add a rebel to a haven that it's a faceless. And this region has now had 4 faceless over a total of like 10 rebels.
Moving to position.
I think it would be really cool if there was a fluid
On the move.
fluid exchange of rebels and soldiers. Like, your rebels could become soldiers and your soldiers could become rebels.
Good to go.
There's room to like build that stuff now, which is really cool.
Got it. Moving.
See how I'm suggesting like additions to the game instead of just trashing the things that are already in it, though? I don't. Anyway,
Good to go.
I love you guys. I'm enjoying hanging out with you a lot. But instead of being like the Graze Band is dumb, you could be like the Graze Band opens up new ways to think about rolls to hit.
Take this.
What if we did this thing and this thing and this thing? That could be really cool gameplay.
Heading out.
I'm gonna shut up now.
I have the asset. No problem,
Just
boss.
gonna go ahead and shut up.
Well, how about that? Positive confirmation.
Yeah,
Area
Zenial,
secure.
I
Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
Yes, Aniel, I agree. I don't know. There's room to like do all sorts of really creative and cool things with this strategic layer that's being set in place. So you could like rework how faceless work, you can rework how havens work, you can add functionality where rebels can become soldiers and vice versa. You can build on this in so many cool ways. I think that what's done already is really, really amazing. But what caused my brain to drop out of my head the first time I ever saw this was thinking about the like potential of the system in future, because this is, I got 2 advanced scopes from that. This is like, I consider the strategic layer in Long War 2 to be a playable strategy game by itself. Like if the mission's auto-resolved, I would play this game. I wouldn't play it as much as I play the full game because I really like the missions, but the back and forth of pulling advent strength to certain regions and detecting missions and going on them and contacting new places and fighting against the avatar timer, that's actually by itself a valid strategy game in my opinion, with divergent strategies and complicated decisions. And I don't really think that existed in vanilla. I just hope that like mods people put out can be constructive on the systems that exist rather than destructive. Like I don't want to see mods, I don't want to see people spending their time working out how to take grays out of the game, especially since you can do it again like this. But somebody creating a to hit bar that showed Gray's chance on it would be awesome. There's like no downside at all to somebody doing that. I'm having a lot of trouble making my brain work out how we're going to handle this mission. I guess we can just small squad it, like maybe that's the best. That way I also have soldiers and equipment in reserve for a potential I can't intel here, for a potential retaliation. I want to talk about this real quick because this is interesting. All throughout the beginning of the game, I was just running intel on my havens. The reason for that is that intel just has better return. Like you get missions which puts experience on your soldiers. You still get rebels, which recruit does for you, but you still get rebels with intel because you detect jailbreaks and you detect missions with hack rewards which give rebels. So intel is just better return. But intel also spikes vigilance. And so the reason I'm 50-50 here is there are some missions which are fairly easy to detect, like jailbreaks, which I would love to run in this region. But in general, I don't want to run a ton of missions here. And so that's what's causing me to split. Oh, okay. Another thing I want to talk about here. I have Tradecraft Shinobi now, so I can like do a mission with 3 days timer on it without too much trouble if I find one. Earlier in the game, I couldn't. So running full intel to get good timers on missions was a bigger deal. Okay, I'm done talking about that. I think we just pick this up, and then we do a network tower with advanced mag. Oh, I have hard target. My Grenadier, I forgot about that. That's so silly. Wait, Shredder? I need to know if Shredder works. That lock is bad. How long until I get coils? Next up, I'm going to grab some secondaries. I'm going to get my secondary hollow targeter and something else, I think. Secondary gremlin, that's the one. And then I'll probably head toward coil. I think I'll end the game on coil, most likely. I don't think I'm going to be rich enough for plasma. I'm not sure, we'll see. I'm also excited to play with some coil. Coil was, because it's like art, it was being worked on up until pretty close to release, so I haven't gotten to play around with it at all, really. Workstation hack with 2 days, 14 hours. Me. Even though you hit one turn evac at 190, it's worth going to 200 because you reduce enemy detection range, and that's just a linear function. Fast max. And next I want Advent Robotics, which had already started at some point.
I foresee a number of valuable applications stemming from this technology. I'll have a report
Supplies.
as soon as the research is complete.
Supplies open up a little bit more later in the game once you're playing missions.
Resource located.
88. Playing missions where you're fighting against Advent forces and liberating regions. Liberated regions make a good chunk of supply. Add evac and detection range calculator to the infiltration calculator when I combine sheets. I can do my best. I don't like. So far I have made a basic shock calculator which has